After this single most brutal war in human history, the world decided to try something radical, something that had never, ever been done before, a single global organization designed to prevent all future wars. So let's dive into this incredibly bold experiment and see what really happened.
To really get the League of Nations, you have to understand the sheer horror that created it. World War I wasn't just another war. With 20 million dead, it was a catastrophe that scarred the entire planet, leaving a whole generation just desperate for a new way of doing things.
And that new idea was the League. It was a massive gamble, really. A huge bet built on this powerful hope that, maybe talking and working together could actually be stronger than the nationalism and secret deals that had just ripped the world apart. And that was the million-dollar question, wasn't it? It was the ultimate promise the League made to a world that was just exhausted by war. But could it actually pull it off? Let's find out.
Okay, so what was this organization, born from the ashes of war, actually designed to do? At its heart, the mission was simple, but it was massive. Set up in 1920 by the Allied powers who won the war, the whole point was to make sure the war to end all wars was really, truly, the last one. The idea was to create a place where countries could talk out their problems instead of shooting them out.
So, let's look under the hood. An idea this huge needs a real structure to make it happen. So how is the League actually put together?
So here's the mission statement, if you will. It was all about cooperation, disarmament, and talking things out peacefully. The really big deal here is that member countries were agreeing to a whole new set of rules for how to act on the world stage.
And here's the blueprint for how they were going to do it. And it probably looks a little familiar, right? You had an assembly for all the members, kind of like a world parliament. Then you had the more powerful council, with the heavy hitters, to deal with the big crises. Throw in a world court, and even an organization for workers' rights. I mean, this was a pretty comprehensive system.
And you know what? For a little while there, it actually seemed to be working. It's so easy to just remember the League for its failures, but in the early days, there was this genuine feeling that, hey, maybe this could work.
And we're not just talking about theory. The League had some real wins. It sorted out a big fight between Turkey and Iraq over some oil-rich land. And get this, in 1925, when Greece invaded Bulgaria, the League stepped in, called them out, and actually forced Greece to back down and pay damages. For a moment, it really looked like this was the future. It was proof that the idea itself could work.
But, and you knew there was a but coming, that early promise started to crack. Because the League's foundations had some serious problems right from the very beginning. And it wouldn't be long before those cracks were put to the ultimate test.
I mean, seriously, a global club to prevent war? What could possibly go wrong? Well, turns out, quite a lot. A club is only as strong as its members, and maybe even more importantly, who isn't a member.
And this right here, this lays out the fatal flaws. The biggest one? The United States, whose own president had championed the whole idea, never even joined. Imagine trying to run a global security club without one of the biggest players on the field. Then, other major countries like Germany, Japan, and Italy just up and left whenever the League's rules got in the way of their plans.
So you've got all these problems simmering beneath the surface. And then, the moments of truth arrived. The challenges that would define the League forever.
In 1931, Japan invaded Manchuria. In 1935, Italy invaded Abyssinia, modern-day Ethiopia. These weren't small squabbles. These were clear, blatant cases of a big, powerful member attacking a smaller one. This was the exact reason the League was created, and the whole world was watching. And the League's response? Basically nothing. They condemned the invasions, sure, but with no army of its own and with key members unwilling to enforce serious sanctions, it was powerless. You have to remember, this was all happening during the Great Depression. Countries were protecting their own economies. They had no interest in a costly trade war. So when it mattered most, the League was shown to be completely toothless. Its credibility was shattered.
So, after a catastrophic failure like that, what was left? Was the whole thing just for nothing?
Well, the final nail in the coffin was, of course, the start of World War II in 1939. The one single event the League was designed to make impossible had happened. The great experiment was officially over. Which leads us to the big question, right? After all that, decades of work, all the meetings, was it all just a colossal waste of time? Well, looking at it as just a simple failure might be missing the bigger picture. And this right here is the crucial takeaway. The League failed to stop World War II, absolutely. But what it succeeded in doing was planting an idea that just wouldn't go away. The idea that nations have to cooperate to solve global problems. It made the concept of a permanent place for international dialogue normal.
Honestly, the best way to think of the League is like a first draft. A messy first draft with all the mistakes and crossed out sentences. But from that flawed first draft, we got the United Nations. The UN learned directly from the League's mistakes. It made sure all the major powers were in from the start. And it gave its Security Council real power to enforce its decisions. In a way, the UN only exists because the League existed first.
So that's the question I'll leave you with. Was the League of Nations a naive, failed dream, or was it an essential, maybe painful, but ultimately necessary first step on the long road to building a more peaceful world? The answer, just like history itself, is pretty complicated.